Hello everyone, it's Paleo Nerd back with well, we'll see in a moment. Though this is the first video I'm recording with the new with the new microphone I got for Christmas this year. I have scripts for two other proper videos finished, but I keep going back and editing the scripts for those, so none of those are ready to record yet. Um As you can probably tell, it's another Tyrannotherium thing, except this one is paleo relevant and isn't him talking about me again. I was just visiting his channel and saw this video. I've already watched it pretty much all the way through, but I am so close to putting all this Tyrannotherium crap behind me. But I watched this video and it was just the most infuriating, mind-numbing thing I've seen in a while. And I just wanted to show you.
So I'm here to do my response to Brian Engh's comment by a year ago, which I didn't know at the time, but now I know who he is.
I don't know why I paused.
Um, for those who don't know, Brian Engh is the guy who drew the sauropod with feathers, and I even made like a funny post of it and etc. Brian Engh is, you know, yeah. But here's the response.
This is this is the thing I've never understood about him. He'll rag on me for talking about stuff from a while ago, and then he'll just go around and do the same exact thing. Not just with me, but with other people. And again with that Dino Nerd video that he deleted after I exposed him. That those chain of events had happened like 2 years prior to him making the video. So it's just like, why is it okay when you do it, but not when I do it? It's like okay for me and not for thee. Whatever. It's just like, genuinely, why do you take so long to respond to this stuff? I thought, here's the thing. I initially paused it because I thought he was going to explain why he was only just now responding to it, because it seemed like he was going to say, oh, I only just now noticed it. But that's not what he said.
But now I know who he is.
He said he just said he just knew who he was. And first of all, for anyone who's somehow unfamiliar, Brian Engh is fairly a fairly successful paleo artist. He's not technically a paleontologist, but he does a lot of art pieces for paleontologies, which again, it's weird that he only mentions the one piece, obviously the piece that he's referring to, the one he has a problem with. The sauropods have feathers. Yep, cry me a fucking river. We'll get to that. But he's done other pieces too, and this is the part that's most infuriating to me about watching his video. He's just so fucking condescending. He acts like Brian Engh is just like this obscure nobody that has no clue what he's talking about. He's, stupid. He should listen to the experts, which I am, obviously. Dumb, stupid idiot, dumb de dumb 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 dumb. It's like, you fucking simp for AK Rex and talk about how cool he is, and he's interviewed paleontologists, and then you just look at a fairly accomplished paleo artist and you're talking about him as if he's beneath you. We'll get to that.
The guy who drew a funny post of it and etc. Brian Engh is, yeah. But But here's the response. If you want to read it, pause it. I'm not really the best reader, but yeah. We don't
Given our various interactions in the comment section and you completely misunderstanding like at least 50% of the things I say in our arguments, it is of zero surprise to me that you're not good at reading. I already knew that.
don't know that of all major branches of the dinosaur family tree, we have
It's like, first of all, yeah, I mean, this part is he basically just goes on the excuse me, some of your pictures sauropods have feathers. We don't sauropods do not have quills or feathers, and not all dinosaurs have feathers. First of all, how do you know that? And second, Engh is not claiming all dinosaurs had feathers. This is a assumption you make a lot, and I'll explain and I'll go in more detail on it on a future video. You just make this assumption that because people put feathers on dinosaurs that you don't think had feathers, that means they assume all dinosaurs had feathers. You made the same mistake about me, actually. You went so far as to fucking make a community post attacking the straw man that I somehow, in our conversation, claimed all dinosaurs had feathers when I never said anything remotely close to that. Anyway, let's just. He's reading Engh's response, not his original comment for some reason. But yeah.
the least information about of sauropod skin by far. The researchers have worked mostly. Excuse
First of all, again, he's the way he's. You can already tell, even from the little bit I played, that he's gonna be all condescending, be like, "Excuse me, I'm the expert here. You don't know nothing." It's like, first of all, well, yeah, let's just let the whole thing play.
me, but we found a lot of skin impressions of sauropod.
It's almost like what Engh actually said is that sauropod skin is just the of the three major groups of dinosaurs: theropods, sauropodomorphs, and ornithischians. That sauropods are the ones we have the least information about because we have so much more from theropods and ornithischians. How can you're reading it out loud and you're somehow taking away something different from what he actually said?
Yeah, of sauropod specimens. You know, we do know. You can't just, and even if
You're sorry. I've seen this before, but I'm still reacting to it like live. It's just like you've barely read anything. He did not say any of the things that you're gonna debunk already. Fucking read the whole thing before you go off on this tangent about how the person you're arguing with is dumb. Is this
if we didn't, at the time, that doesn't mean that we could just put them have feathers and call it a day.
I what led you to that conclusion? What thing are you seeing here that led you to believe that's what Brian Engh is doing here? You're just talking out of your asshole at this point.
That's not how science works, Brian.
I what the fuck do you know about science? Are you a scientist? Have you done any actual science? I am in college right now. Well, it's winter break right now, but I have been at college studying actual paleontology. The fuck do you know about science? I want to make sure I got the full context. I've been pausing a lot.
No, we do know. You can't just, and even if we didn't,
He didn't even finish his first statement. Well, yeah, whatever. He's stuttering. It's not his fault. He said it before. He trips over his words a lot. It's fine.
At the time, that doesn't mean that we could just put them, have feathers, and call it a day. That's not how science works, Brian.
Really, because we have feathers from theropods and ornithischians. And as you mentioned later, and as Brian mentions later, and as you agree, theropods are closer to sauropods than to ornithischians. Why would theropods and ornithischians both have feathers if they are not the two dinosaurs? If they are not each other's closest relatives? Two things could have happened there. Either those groups evolved feathers independently of each other, or or all three of those groups shared a common ancestor that has feathers. And since pterosaurs have pycnofibers, which a lot of paleontologists have argued are either very similar to feathers or might actually just be basically proto feathers, that puts soft filaments, at least, at the very base of the group that includes pterosaurs and dinosaurs. It's called phylogenetic bracketing, and the idea of those structures having a common origin employs what is known as maximum parsimony, in which you assume that the least number of character changes is the most likely. Whereas rather than just assuming a bunch of clades gained the same trait independently of each other, you go, these animals are closely related, they share similar traits, this trait must be shared by a common ancestor. That's science.
Um, Most likely because events that were not spread to actually blur massive sauropod bones involved with water movement, tons of mud and sand, floods, events, years of time as they randomly buried slowly. Analyzing dinosaur skeletons.
Notice he skipped over the last sentence of that first paragraph. In either case, it is very unlikely for any skin to be well preserved, especially fine hair or feather like structures. I wonder why you would not. Um, I wonder why you wouldn't read that part.
The sauropods are more closely related. Yes, that's true. They are closely related.
Do you have to say that so condescendingly? You act like you're talking to a child. Yes, that's true. The sky is blue. The sun is yellow. Water is wet. Yes, that's very good, little Timmy. Like, maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
Related to theropods, which, yeah, birds are also theropods themselves. So, yeah, modern dinosaurs, in this case, birds and theropod dinosaurs and sauropods are related. That is correct.
Why do we need to know that? D- would anyone watching this video have not already known this information?
Then the ornithischian dinosaurs or pterosaurs, which plumage, blah, 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 dinosaurs. Okay, like I said before,
He's just being condescending again. You know he can't hear you through this video, right? Meaning he has no way of knowing what you said before because he's not listening to you right now.
Theropod, just because that sauropods and theropods are related to each other, that doesn't mean that sauropods had feathers. Maybe the ancestors of
That's what I just fucking said. Why do you think ornithischians have feathers?
sauropods, like the earlier sauropodomorphs, or in this case, the early sauropodomorphs, like Eoraptor may have had them, which I probably doubt it because feathers only existed with um, mostly theropods, like true. Well,
See, you're doing the thing again where you're only counting the feathers that we have preserved, which all tend to occur during the. Most of them are during the Cretaceous. You know, we also have some from the Jurassic because of Archaeopteryx and a bunch of other um, near bird dinosaurs from that time period. Skin does not as preserve as well from the Triassic period, so you have no way of knowing that's when feathers originated. You said it before. Theropods share a common ancestor with at least two other groups that are known to have feathers, that have specimens that have been preserved with feathers, or at least feather-like filaments. Ornithischians and pterosaurs. It stands to reason that the ancestor may have also had plumage, meaning at some point, an animal that would lead to sauropods probably had feathers, meaning the common ancestor. Well, yeah, because, okay, the common ancestor of dinosaurs and pterosaurs likely had feathers. The common ancestor of dinosaurs likely had feathers. The common ancestor of theropods and sauropodomorphs probably had feathers. You're just cherry picking the things we know for a fact have feathers because they preserve in the fossil record. That doesn't mean that the animals we don't have, like, this is like the same logic as being like, prove Eoraptor has scales. We haven't found scales for it yet. Maybe it didn't have skin at all. Maybe it was just the bones themselves. That's all we have preserved of it. All right, it's like that's that's like the kind of logic you're working with. Only the dinosaurs we found with feathers are the only ones that ever had feathers. And we can't ever possibly put feathers on animals we don't have any integument trace of, no skin preservation or any filament preservation of, because that's just ridiculous.
mostly theropods that are more closely related to birds, such as dromaeosaurs and etc.
Where do you think those feathers came from? It's like earlier you said the thing about how the common ancestor of all the fuzzy lineages was probably fuzzy. And now you're trying to suggest that because the quote unquote raptor lineage and the near bird dinosaurs are the only ones we have preserved evidence of feathers for, that those are the only theropods that had feathers, which since those theropods are so derived, would mean that they evolved their feathers independently from ornithischians and from the filaments seen on pterosaurs. And like even that assumption isn't true. We have quill knobs on Concavenator and Allosauride. That's about like it's not as good as like actual impressions or preservation of the feathers, but like, and obviously quill knobs aren't always, because plenty of modern birds today actually lack the quill knobs on the bones, but they still have the feathers that attach there. So, like, not having quill knobs doesn't mean they didn't have feathers there, but finding quill knobs is basically a smoking gun for this animal had feathers. And, like, I know there have been alternate explanations for the, um, I forget what they're called, like, just the pits on Concavenator's arm. But, like, from what I've researched, those ideas don't hold up quite as well as the quill knob explanation. So, like, I mean, I can't 100% fault you for not knowing that. It has been a fairly contentious issue, but, like,
And yes, I am aware, like, Megalosaurus, is some species of Megalosaurus had feathers, but
which species? Why won't you go further with that? Because, like, the closest I can think of to what he could be referring to with that is Cirrhomimus and Juravenator are two small theropods from the late Jurassic of Germany that have feathers preserved, and there's been some sort of contention as to whether those are compsognathids or like Coelurosaurus close to Compsognathus, or if those are baby megalosauroids. Cirrhomimus often tends to be more associated with megalosauroids. Juravenator is kind of a thing that happened a bit more recently than that. I'm not 100% sold that they're megalosaurs, but, like, again, you're you're basically proving his point that feathers are fairly widespread throughout theropods. They're also widespread in ornithischians. You have basal ornithischians like Tianulong, a heterodontosaur. You have Colindodromeus, which is a bit more derived than heterodontosaurs. You have Psittacosaurus, with, granted, that animal is fairly limited compared to the other two because it basically just has the quills on the back of its tail, but that is also not related to the other three. Filaments seem to have been widespread in Ornithischia too. What explains that? Did that emerge independently, or was it shared by their common ancestor? Which would also include sauropodomorphs, unless you're following the Ornithiscolida model, which most people do not. You clearly do not, and has um is very little support nowadays.
anyways, just because they're related, that doesn't mean that they had them. Like, for example, look at Carnotaurus. Does Carnotaurus, or in this case, do Abelisaurs had feathers?
First of all, why are you expanding this to Abelisaurus? Carnotaurus is the only one we have skin impressions of. And I don't know if you know this, those skin impressions do not cover the entire body. It only covers part of the body, meaning it is possible that there were filaments in the places that the skin didn't preserve. I'm also not entirely sure with skin impressions how much feathers would even show up on that, but that's just a I don't know that thing. So you see, Tyrannotherium, there's this thing you can do where if you don't know a lot about something, you can admit you don't know it rather than acting like you know everything you're talking about and you're like the biggest expert in the universe.
I'll give you an example. Do we know that Abelisaurs had feathers? No, we don't,
You're saying we don't know what.
because we found skin impressions that Abelisaurs did not had feathers.
We found that one Abelisaur species, Carnotaurus, well, like, Carnotaurus is technically a genus, but it only has one species. You found that one Abelosaurid didn't have feathers in the spots where the skin happened to preserve or impressions. I I I don't remember at the moment whether the Carnotaurus skin is like an impression or if it's like preserved skin in some other way. But it's like, again, those that didn't cover the entire body, meaning you can't prove that it didn't have any feathers anywhere. So you're already starting this off with faulty evidence, and then extrapolating that to mean all abelisaurs. I guess I kind of did that in my first Jurassic Fight Club video, but like, come on. Uh, obviously, this is me. Obviously, this is me admitting that that viewpoint is flawed.
You know, we also found skin impressions of tyrannosaurs not having feathers, or at least Tyrannosaurus rex itself.
I'm not actually sure how much skin we have from T Rex. I believe we have some from other Tyrannosaurids. I don't know how many have been identified. I think we might have some from one of the from like either Gorgosaurus or Daspletosaurus, like the two big the two main Tyrannosaurs that were in the that were are found in like the Dinosaur Park 2 Medicine ecosystem, Campanian of Upper Laramidia. But like, again, those are very small patches of various parts of the body. They're not the entire body. So like, you're basically saying because the parts of the body where the skin preserved didn't show feathers, that means the entire animal didn't have feathers. That's sort of doing the whole absence of evidence is evidence of absence, because it's like, okay, what if an ostrich died and the only part of its skin that preserved was the stuff on the legs? Would future paleontologists who had never seen an ostrich before be correct in using that skin impression to include that ostriches didn't have feathers? Like, that's basically what you're doing here. Is assuming because some parts of an animal didn't have feathers, they didn't have feathers on the entire body. It's not like animals vary in what kind of integument they have on various parts of their body and everything. That would be ridiculous.
Not having feathers, and even if it did, it would be a tiny amount of them.
That is an assumption you are making.
Since Tyrannosaurus is in the Coelurosaur group, just like Dromaeosaurs are. But anyways, yeah, just
Okay, there's very little of this video left. Is he actually going to read any of the rest of this?
that's not how science works, Brian.
Again, it's like, first of all, I already sort of demonstrated that the way he's presenting it is how science works. Phylogenetic bracketing is something scientists do, something paleontologists do. You know, so yeah, like you're just it's just like what again, it's like, what do you know about doing science? What expertise do you have? Or even if you have no personal expertise, have you perhaps actually consulted any scientists of your own? Where is this viewpoint coming from? Are you just regurgitating things other people have said? Where are your rebuttals coming from?
And you have to talk to the experts. You can't just analyze your own fan fiction.
I just see, this is what I'm talking about. He says he needs to talk to a paleontologist. What the fuck do you think the researchers I work with refers to? He's talking to scientists, you dipshit. he's also a paleoartist, which means that yeah, he's literally been commissioned to illustrate pieces for scientific papers that requires interacting with the scientists writing the paper. I just The ironic thing is at the beginning he said he just figured out who this guy is. So I don't know how he doesn't know this already. Like he has a website. Like I'm trying to hold on, I'm going to look up what his website is called. Just hang on with me. It is Living Relic Productions is the website. You can go to it. I met the guy at SVP 2023. I don't know why I said that. It's just, I'm giving you some random trivia just so you know. I did actually meet Brian Engh in person. Not that inherently means that like he is right or like I don't know. I feel like Tyrannotherium is going to try and take that and suggest that me and Engh have some personal connection or something. We don't. I barely know the guy. That's like saying that would be like saying because you met, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger at Comic-Con that, we're best buds. But of course, I'm rebuting something that I'm not even entirely certain Tyrannotherium will even say. So anyway, let's get back
That's,
to
that's not how science works, Brian. You have to talk to the experts. You can't just analyze your own fan fiction.
again. Like, what part of what he said in this paragraph was fan fiction to you? Everything he said there to support his conclusions is stuff that actually exists. We know theropods had feathers. We know ornithischians had feathers. We know pterosaurs had feathers or feather-like plumage. We know that theropods are closer to sauropods than to any of the other two groups I previously mentioned. We can deduce then that filaments was likely an ancestral was likely a characteristic that evolved very early on in the evolution of bird-line archosaurs, the ornithodires or avimetatarsalians, which could then imply that basal members of all those lineages could have had feathers at some point. And like even with the sauropod skin you mentioned earlier, it's the same thing with the Carnotaurus and the Tyrannosaur skin. Those don't cover the entire body. Like I don't know all of them off the top of my head. Most of the skin impressions I know of are often like the side of the body, like the flanks or the underbelly. And it's like, so they could have had something along the top. I don't even inherently agree that sauropods did have feathers. I just don't see why one person's artistic liberty is so blasphemous to you when, like, the stuff you're saying about it, there's no evidence against it. Why do you take such an issue with it? I'm gonna bring this up in a future my final video, where I'm gonna talk about a lot of stuff he said about well, I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil it, but
And then call it a day. That's not the laws of science.
I swear to God, this guy just like watched some of my videos and then watched someone else's videos and now thinks he knows everything there is to know about paleontology or whatever. To the point where he's basically like trying to explain it to actual people in the field. Like, I mean, like, yes, Brian Engh is not to my knowledge, he's not like a paleontologist, he's an artist. But again, given all the work he's done, he's obviously made connections with actual paleontologists and thus has likely consulted them a bunch of times when making his pieces, when making his artwork. It's like he did he drew a relatively new hadrosaur that was described like a couple of years ago, Ornithopsis. He did like the official art for that paper. He worked on like art for the big Dilophosaurus monograph that happened in like 2020, I think. Like, again, the guy has done work in actual paleontology, maybe not doing the studies, but he still works with the scientists.
You know, it's amazing that some of these weirdo people,
Like, uh,
these people that think that all dinosaurs have feathers,
where did he say that? Again, you're making a straw man. He showed. Did he ever show? I don't know, ankylosaurs with feathers? Did he ever show stegosaurs with feathers? Like, you're taking one sample of he put some feathers on sauropods. I don't think sauropods had feathers. Therefore, he thinks all dinosaurs had feathers. Like, where are you getting the like? You're basically like taking you're basically going like A equals C. Like, where's the B? Or I don't know. My mind is being broken over this logic because it makes no sense.
need to look more evidence. You know, talk to experts.
He does, you idiot.
You know, not not just come up with your own fan fiction and
The like, where is he getting that he's coming up with this himself?
call the
Whatever.
day. You need to learn better, Brian. You need to learn better.
Oh, from you, Mister. Like, what? Again, he's being so condescending here. He's acting like he's the expert here. It's like, it's just you can. I hope at least some of you see why this is so infuriating for me to watch, because like this is almost like Dunning-Kruger effect live. Like, this is like a couple. I think it was like a year or two ago at this point. He did a video responding to a big study a while back about whether theropods had lips, and he didn't talk about any of the like the methodology they used or um why they reached their conclusions. He was just like, no, dinosaurs can't have lips because crocs don't have lips and dinosaurs are related to crocodiles. It's like first of all, it's showing that you don't really understand the science that the people are using to reach your conclusions. So you're just opting for simpler things that like make sense in your tiny little brain. But like of course we got this lovely bit in the comments because it's like, oh, does he knows that sauropods doesn't have no feathers? Like, okay, doesn't have no feathers? What are you, Southern? And apparently not. He's in his world of fan fiction and he's a troll. Like, yeah, world famous paleo artist is a troll because he responded to a comment you made on his video. That's not what a troll means, you idiot. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, internet troll. I'll fucking put the thing up later when I'm editing this, but it's like I get why you guys are tired of this, because I'm starting to get tired of this, but I have one more video I want to do first. A big, long, scripted video, and that's it. I'm going to be done with Tyrannotherium forever. I mean, I've said that like 5 times at this point, but hopefully it sticks, because it's almost the new year, and I can sort of make it a resolution, even though that video, the final video probably won't be out till after the new year. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time, and this is Paleo Nerd signing out.